oh sit down with Simsy. Sit down, 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 down with Simsy.
Hello gang, and welcome back to another episode of Sit Down with Simsy. Hopefully you like the logo. Hopefully you like the new theme tune. Massive shout out to Brandon Vaughan, who actually made the logo for me, and massive shout out to Auntie Jambo or Robbie that has very kindly made the intro song for me as well. So shout out to those two legends. That will be on every single one going forward. Up to Simsy fam, legends for that. Let's get into it. So today on episode 5, I figured we'd go down another experience kind of route that I've had within streaming. The best viewed one of these that we've had so far out of the 4 that we've done was my experiences with Sneak. So today I wanted to focus on my personal experiences with the brand Scuf. Now, a lot of you guys will have come across Scuf. I think it would be quite hard for the majority of you to have not heard of them if you're within kind of the gaming space. I've seen people I've had a couple of people comment saying like, could you do a podcast on the benefits of like a paddled controller and stuff like that? Which, if you don't know, Scuf offer, that is like their main business, is it's like customizable controllers. So I want to take you back a little bit in terms of where I was at. So I've touched upon it at the time that I was obviously I was a lot bigger on YouTube back in Blackout days. I've spoken about that in previous podcasts that we've done so far already, and I want to take you back to the point where I was probably, it would have been a bad day if I wasn't averaging like 1,500 concurrent viewers, or like actual viewers at that moment on the stream. That would have been a bad day if it wasn't like averaging that sort of amount. So I was having quite a few companies, which is kind of what happens when you reach like a certain number. You tend to get more and more companies kind of emailing you or DMing your Twitter or something like that saying, would you like to work on this with us? Could you do this for us? Like type thing. And the majority of them are just absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing. And I just like, there's just no point. Like, I don't know, like if it's got an actual benefit to me and an actual benefit to you guys, then I would look at it. If I would liked it, as I've said before, I would only ever go with a product that I personally am happy with to partner up with, and one that I've used for a bit and tested it, so that I know that I'm not like sitting there and just seeing pound signs in my eyes and saying, yes, I'll take this and just sell, and like just be some fake ass person. That's not really me. So at this point, I had a couple of people like mention and streamers that I knew that were with Scuf, but I hadn't had anything come through from them. So I hadn't had a paddled controller at this point, and I'd been gaming, I mean, for years. I'd only ever used the normal controller, and I would play claw on a controller. So for those of you that don't know what claw is, I use this controller. So for those of you that don't know what clawing is, this is like how you would normally hold a controller, right? You'd have L1, R1, R2. Clawing essentially is you use your middle fingers on your L1 and R1, and you use your index fingers to do like that. That's how I used to play. But with the use of like having paddles like this, you don't need to do that so much anymore. So I'd done that for years. My hands were starting to hurt because I was playing a lot. Doing claw like on a controller is pretty uncomfortable for the most part, and everybody had just said like everybody's partnering up with Scuf, like why wouldn't you try and like reach out to them? And I was like, they're quite big, like they generally went with big people, and I was kind of like on the cusp of that, I would say, but not like at that sort of, I would definitely get one with them like type thing, and I hadn't tried it before. So I sat there myself, which is something that I haven't done since, to be fair, but I was like that, like I really want to be careful with this like type thing first, because I heard a lot of people, not streamers, it's never the streamers that mention it, trust me, it's never the streamers that mention it, but there's a reason for that. I'd heard quite a lot of bad rumours in terms of, I say rumours, reports, I would say. It's not rumours, like they're actual things that have happened, where people have had them for not very long, and they've spent a load of money on them, and they're just like they've got no longevity type thing. They just breaking like different parts, which break like constantly, which I kind of understand, but not in a short period of time for like a premium product, because otherwise you just use a normal controller. They're still quite expensive. Like I remember at the time, this is when I was on PS4, and I think a basic DualShock was maybe like £40. So it's quite a step up when you're looking at sort of like 150, maybe £100 if you're going for like a basic one, or 150, 200 plus for a controller. It's quite a big step up. You kind of expect that sort of premium level experience, I would say. But so I actually bought one myself. Okay, so I spec one up and I top spec this thing. I think from memory, this is definitely not the exact number, but it was definitely circa 250. I think it was around £300 with delivery, this controller. And it looked pretty nice. Like I was happy with the look. It was one of the impacts. It was one of their impact controllers, which at the time was like the sort of flagship PlayStation controller that they offered. And I remember sitting there and I was kind of like, even when I bought it, I was a bit like I don't know, like, there was something about it that I just wasn't completely convinced by, just because of all these things I'd heard of. I've got all these streamers being like, oh, use Scuf, use my code at Scuf, blah blah blah, and everybody and their dog was with them. But yeah, every time I'd be like they were talking about like, what controller do I use in my chat, like things like that was coming up like a lot, being like, what controller do you use, like can I use your code at this, and I'm like, nah, you can't, mate, sorry. And I just didn't have anything. So I just wanted to try it, but I kept having all these people saying like, oh, this has gone wrong, and it was just kind of like in the back of my mind, I was like, surely that's not going to happen to me. Like I've just spent £300-ish on a controller. That won't happen. That must just be like, you know how you see the reviews of stuff, like you're checking something out before you buy it, and you check the reviews, and it's got like a couple of bad ones, and it's like it's not so many of the good ones, and it's kind of, what is it, one of those things where it's like people have just done a review because they haven't had a good experience, but a lot of the people that have had a good one, they're not really mentioning it because it's something you would expect, like type thing. Is it one of them? You know what I'm saying? Is it one of them? Well, it wasn't. So this controller, well, I remember sitting there on stream, and I'd had this date of which it was meant to come, and I was like pre-preparing. I've been constantly talking about it on my stream, and everybody was kind of like excited for me to try my first paddle controller. It was something that we kept talking about, and it got up to the date that it was due to arrive, and it hadn't been dispatched yet or anything like that. And I was like, oh shit, so here we go, what's going on now? And then eventually it did arrive. I'm gonna cut to it. I know this is a podcast, but I'm gonna cut quite quick to it. It arrived a week late, and it was broken, right? And I opened it up on stream, and I had, at the time, it was like a big thing for me, and I'd like advertise my stream as my first Scuf, like my first paddle controller thing. Like obviously I'm not like intentionally, well, I mean I am. I was literally like, I was advertising it with like a decent amount of viewership, with no partnership or anything like that, to try and maybe draw their attention, because if I did like it, I wanted them to kind of know who I was, type thing. And I was kind of hopeful that they might see it, and I tagged them in stuff and like the tweets and things like that, like saying like I'm doing it. And I was kind of like using this as like a, if I do like it and I do get on with it, like it could be a good move for me. And so I opened it up on stream, and I think at the time I had, when I actually was opening it, I think I had about 2.7k watching me at the time. And I opened it up and I plugged it in, and I was sitting there on the menu on blackout, beautiful blackout menu, and I try and play, and there's crazy stick drift, and like one of the triggers wasn't working properly. There was so many little mini things that might not sound like much, but I just spent £300 on it, and it wasn't right. Like it would have had to have gone back into repair, and I've just sat there and opened it up on stream, and I'm fuming. Like I'll be honest, I'm a pretty cheap person. A lot of you guys that know me know that I don't really like spending money on things unless I kind of have to, and I was fuming. I was actually sat there genuinely fuming, and I actually sat on stream and I phoned Scuf's customer services on speaker on stream, and I got through, and it took me a little while. I sat there with the whole music on. We were just sat jamming to the whole music, and I sat there, and eventually kind of got through to them, and I was explaining, like, I've literally, like, it arrived a week late. That pissed me off in the first place. I understand these things sometimes take time, but the fact that it arrived a week late and it wasn't even tested prior, that shit pissed me off. And then the kind of the kicker with it was all the things that were wrong with it. Even though I hadn't even played a single game with this controller, I got through eventually, and they were like, oh, okay, well, you'll have to send it back, but it will cost this. And I was sat there like, hell fucking no, you're taking this shit back. I want a refund. Like, I'm not sitting there. I was like, I am not paying for things on this to get it fixed. Like, nah, that's done. And I remember sitting there, and I literally said to them, I was like, just so you know, I actually did this as, like, it wasn't sponsored by you guys at all, but, like, I sat there and I said, I am actually currently live doing this, and I'm on the phone to you guys, live to my stream. I'm on YouTube, like, this is what I'm doing. And I was like, I've actually got 2,000 plus people listening to this phone call right now. And I just want to tell you that I was going to potentially look at trying to reach out to you guys and sponsor you. You probably couldn't care less, but I just wanted you guys to know that this is the actual experience that I have had. And I didn't say to them, I'm not going to do it now, because that would be like, oh, then literally just sit there like, all right, mate, but I've got fucking this guy who's like a million times bigger than you. Like, they wouldn't have cared. So I just wanted to say to them, I was like, this is the experience I've had. It's arrived a week late. You've not tested it, and now you're telling me on the phone that even though I've not played a single game and I've opened it up live in the box, all the packaging's come off live, and it's not working, you're sitting there telling me I'm gonna have to pay money for it. I was like, nah, I'd quite like a refund, thank you. Like, I'm gonna send, like, how do I send it back to you and stuff like that. And ended the call, and I was like, I literally remember looking back to my chat, and I just felt awkward. I was like, I was actively going to try and sell this to you at some point, and I literally said that to her. I was like, I'm being funny. I was going to try and partner up with these guys, and I was going to start giving you my code. I was like, I've tried to kind of ignore the hate that it's had, but here I am, £300 down the drain that I've got to wait fucking 14 days to get back, and it's just not in my account anymore. I've got nothing to show for it, and I just, yeah, that whole experience just threw me. It just. And to be honest, I looked at the controller. I was like, it did look nice. Like, I won't say that it didn't look nice. It did look cool, but it just, yeah, that whole thing didn't do it for me at all. So that was kind of my experience with that so far. And I just don't understand how a controller that is going to be played, and you're paying so much of a premium on top of what it normally is, every single one that comes out the factory should be tested. You can sit there and say, that's not feasible, blah, 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 blah. But just a little test. Is that they should all be plugged in, really, shouldn't they? Like, I don't think that's that much of an arse. Especially, I mean, they're a pretty big company, so I'm surprised that didn't happen. But the funny thing was, and this, I'm not going to sit here, I'm not going to, like, start fucking, like, using this as some kind of advertising piece, but what was funny at the time is that I actually had, because I'd advertised it as Scuf, blah, 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 I actually had a message come through whilst I was live from the company that I'm now partnered with, which is how I got partnered with them, called Aim Controllers. And I hadn't heard of them at the time, but they literally DM'd me saying, hi, we're watching your stream right now. We've actually been watching this whole thing. Gutted for you that you've kind of had this experience with Scuf, but we actually would love to reach out to you and send you one of our controllers to try. We'll actually send you two. And they were like, one to try and one for you to have afterwards if you're happy with it. I was like, okay. Like, I didn't really know too much about them. They were like, don't worry, it won't arrive. They literally said on the DM, excuse me. They literally said on the DM, don't worry, it won't arrive a week late and it won't be broken. If anything ever did go wrong with it, ours have got lifetime warranty. But we're that sure that you'll love it, you don't need to worry about anything. We'll send you two. And then we'll reach out to you in a few weeks' time and you can let us know what you think if you want to try and partner up. And I was like, wow, like, first of all, these guys have actually sat there watching my stream. I thought that was pretty cool. And they're going to send me a controller for free, having just spent a load of money to try and sort of, like, get the ball rolling with Scuf. And they were sending me out not just one but two controllers. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm down. So I started going on the website. I was like, what do I need to do? They were like, yeah, just spec what you want. Spec anything you want. And I was going on the customization, and they had all these things that Scuf didn't have. Like, you could add your own logo and stuff to it. So, like, for example, I'm trying to see so you can see it. It's quite hard on the camera. But like, that's my YouTube logo that you can see behind me on that sign. That's fucking backwards webcam there. I've got tons of them. I'm not going to sit here and like start sitting there and doing this as some kind of ad thing for them, because I absolutely have had a great experience with AIM personally. Like, from day dot, they've been nothing but amazing to me. But I haven't had any experiences with Battle Beaver, for example. I haven't had anything with those, so I can't sit here and say those are shit. Like, I only get AIM. I don't know, but from my experience, AIM has been really, really good to me. And that's who I would personally recommend, only from those experiences, is that they've been really good in terms of their customization is amazing. So it's not just that, you can put your own, you can write stuff on them as well. Like, I've had PlayStation ones that I've got like Simsy written on them. You can put like type and stuff on them. Cool. So the customization's amazing. I've done a tester for them recently for like these adaptive trigger things here, so you can actually tighten up to almost like a digital bumper and trigger, or loosen them depending on the game you're playing. So for example, like, I only play COD, so I kind of don't really need that. So I got sent that to test it, but I've kind of sat here recently and just thought, like, I probably shouldn't have been the person testing that for them, because the reason why that would be a good feature is because if you play like a racing game and you've got a digital trigger like a mouse click, it almost tightens it so that it's not like fully down. So if you had, imagine you've got your R2 button and that's your accelerate button on a racing game, and you can't hold it all the way down, your car's only going to go at like fucking 20 miles an hour and not like 120. So you then can loosen it, and then that doesn't happen. Like, just with literally, like, you literally just go like that, like it, and that's it, done. Or you can tighten it so you've got really fast trigger finger on like a DMR SO14 like type thing. So that's where that comes in. So they've also had stuff like that. But yeah, so they've always been really, really good in that sense. And the experience level that I had with AIM versus Scuf has always been insane. Like, I understand that now I'm partnered and it's different, but I don't think I ended up like becoming a partner with them for about a month. Like, I really sat there after my experience with Scuf, and I used the fuck out of that controller. I would sit there and play like 12 hours a day of solos or whatever on Blackout, and I'd rinse it. Nothing went wrong. Like, literally nothing. And the only thing that I've had since on some controllers, and you need to bear in mind, I don't play a normal amount of time. Like, I literally sit and play 12 hours pretty much, at least normally double digits a day, 6 days a week. So I'm putting in 50, 60, 70 hours, sometimes more, and a week playing COD. And it's very, very, imagine like slide cancelling consistently in last COD. And the only thing I've ever had was on maybe one, maybe two controllers, as I got a very slight stick drift, and that's fixable. Like, they would have warranty for that, and you could literally just send it into them and then send it back to you, and it wouldn't cost you anything. So that is insane. They're actually cheaper for the most part than Scuf anyway. But yeah, I'll put their link below. As I said, this isn't this shit. I'm not shitting on any other companies, but my experience with Scuf was dog shit in comparison. And yeah, I personally wouldn't use anybody else. I wouldn't see a reason to now that I'm obviously with them. But yeah, the experience that I've had with Scuf was crazy. Like, I just remember just sitting there and thinking, like, I've got 2,000 people watching me on the phone. That was very weird. I don't know why I did that on the phone now I think about it. Bizarre experience, but it was quite funny at the same time. Like, I'm just sat there with fucking somebody on the phone that just, like, I'm on stream, by the way. Like, it was like, okay. I just remember them sitting there being like, okay, like, type thing. Because obviously they do the whole, this call is recorded for training and monitoring purposes. I'm like, oh, the whole shit. And I'm just there like, you fucking bet your ass is recorded. Yeah, and so moving on. So they were saying, and as I said in the comments as well, about like what is the benefits of a like a paddled controller? I think it was something along those lines of question, like what's the benefits of a paddled controller for competitive gaming or something like that. It was very nicely worded, and I'm reading it like a douche. But just so you know why there things like scuffs and aims or whatever you use or don't use at this present time, why it's beneficial is that if you imagine it in COD, right? I'll try to do it so you can see it. If you imagine in Call of Duty, you're running up to somebody and you're aiming, and one of the key things that a lot of the pros are doing, or most of the sweats, okay, let's just go with sweats, is that they will jump whilst they're shooting, right? So if you imagine you're aiming with your L1, and you've got your left thumb on the thumbstick, and your right thumb on your right thumbstick, okay? To jump and shoot, you have to take your thumb off your right thumbstick. And you're aiming with that thumbstick. So for that brief time of pressing that button in, your thumb comes off. So you then, and it might not seem like much, but that brief movement there is enough time and enough lack of accuracy to sometimes lose you those gunfights that can be quite costly, especially if you're playing a BR. So if you think about the fact that you've then got a paddle behind you, behind your, where your hand's sat anyway, you can just quickly wash up doing it. You never actually have to take your thumb off the thumbstick, therefore meaning you're a lot more accurate and you're a lot faster. Now, in terms of why you would do that, the reason why people jump and shoot at the same time is because 9 times out of 10, you're not aiming directly at the head straight away. Most of the time, you're aiming around the torso area. So for every time you're aiming at the torso area, you're then jumping, which is then bringing the aim up because you're going up. So if you're aiming at the torso, the easiest bit to hit, you're then jumping up, which then means you're likely to hit 1 or 2 headshots, which then means they're going to kill them faster. On top of that, if you're jumping, it's harder for them to hit you in the head. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So it's kind of got benefits on both sides on that, which is why a lot of people do that. But not only that, so if you get like the paddle controllers, most of them, I know they obviously the aim ones do, but you can remap. So this is like a remappable thing. So you can kind of set them to, or map them as they call it, to whichever button. So for example, my left one is mapped to X to jump for the exact reason I said before, and my right one I think is, it's not melee, it's like proning or something like that, so I can dolphin dive, because obviously the current lack of movement that we've got inside of Warzone 2, you have to do a lot of dolphin dives, and again, so I don't have to take my thumb off the thumbstick to like move around. I can just hold it down and I'll do a dolphin dive. But you can kind of set it to anything, and it doesn't have to be just Call of Duty. Like you could map it to something for COD. I've only got 2 paddles here because I've never been able to get used to having 4, but they come with 4 and they're all detachable. It's like that again. It's like that on most of the brands. You have to make sure you spec them with a remappable thing. It's normally like the remappable magnet is like £2-3 or something like that more. And if you don't do that, and this is an imperative thing, if you're buying a paddle controller, make sure it is remappable. Spend the extra £5. Don't be cheap like me. Spend the extra £5 because there will be a time where you need to change it to a different button. Like you might be playing a different game, or there's a different mechanic comes in and you need to do it like that. You have to have it remappable. But if you've never used a paddle controller before and you're an old fart like me, they come with 4. I could not get used to that. That's too much, too many different buttons to swap from what I'm used to. And it's all muscle memory based. Eventually you will get used to it. But, yeah, I just took the top 2 off. And the reason why I kept with the bottom 2 is because it's your hands. If you imagine you're just on a normal controller, your hands would rest where these bottom 2 paddles are. That was the other thing with the Scuf. I mean, again, it depends what you get used to, doesn't it? I got used to this position a lot easier than what I did with the Scuf, but I guess that was more of just I didn't play with it to get used to it in the first place, but it felt like it sat more naturally on that. I remember when I first got the paddle controller itself, it was quite daunting for me, having played Claw the whole time, to actually try and get used to not pressing it. Well, I'm talking about muscle memory, to not pressing the X button on my controller and trying to get used to the jump. That does take time. So if you're sat there and you're getting your first paddle controller, or maybe you've already got one but you're not playing like loads, or you're kind of like, oh, this isn't as good as I thought, just all you have to do when you get one, if you're a COD player, if you found me from COD, the easiest thing that I can do to help you with this is to go into multiplayer, go into a private match or a custom match on multiplayer, put a load of recruit bots in, and as in recruiters in the difficulty, set it to the easiest one, which is recruit. Put as many bots in as you can, go on free for all, put the time limit up as long as it goes, put the score limit up as long as it goes, and run around with like an SMG on one class and an AR on another, or maybe a sniper, like mix it up and just keep doing it. It took me a couple of hours to get used to it. Unfortunately for me, I didn't do that at the start, and I was playing Blackout at the time I got it with Optic Formal, which, yeah, if you know who Formal is, then you can imagine my pain when I was sat there playing with my first ever paddled controller, and I'm trying to get used to it with probably the best FPS player that's ever lived. If you know Scump, you should know Formal, and yeah, I was kind of getting dumped on, so that was quite embarrassing. Because I didn't really practice it. I thought I would just be able to do it straight away, and I really couldn't. So definitely, if you do end up getting any paddle controller from any company, please make sure that you sit and you try and you practice for a little bit. As I said, I would recommend doing that. Don't embarrass yourself in front of your mates, especially not if any of them are particularly good, and maybe a little bit better than particularly good, and maybe one of the best players on the planet, and you're playing with them for one of the few times and they've got a lot more viewers than you, and it's a little bit awkward. That was probably one of the most embarrassing things that I've done. I say most embarrassing. It wasn't actually embarrassing. Like, he wasn't sat there being like, yo, this guy's shit, like, type thing. But I was sat there feeling it. So the very next morning, because I was playing with him again the next day, is I sat there very, very early in the morning and sat there and did what I just said for a couple of hours to get used to it. And yeah, that helped me out significantly that time, and I was a lot better after that. It's all muscle memory. All these kind of things are all muscle memory. Like, you will see a significant benefit if you're in terms of, like, if you're not playing on that, that is a big benefit. I don't know if I'll do this as a pod, but I was thinking about maybe going over some, like, of my equipment and stuff. Let me know of your experiences, first of all, with Scuf in the comments. I'd like to know if you personally have had any experiences, good or bad. I'm sure there's quite a lot of people. There's a lot of people that will have had good experiences with Scuf, because it is such a big company. There is a lot, but there's also quite a lot that have had bad. My issue was what I was trying to say before in terms of, like, the pound sign thing, is when you think about the fact that I've already mentioned myself that I had 2 aims sent to me from the get-go. If you think about the size of Scuf, a lot of these guys that are, I don't want to say it's different for me because I am partnered with them and they're partnered with them with a different company, but I've sat there and I've used it and I've tried and tested it and I know it's fine. But I know I'm not going to name names, but I know streamers that have been partnered with Scuf for ages, and I know they've been through loads, like loads. And they don't see it as a problem. I'm always like, why are you okay with that, like, type thing? Like, I've always said, like, how is that okay, like, type thing? It's broken again. What, you've got another one. It's broken again, and I'm just sat there like, and they're like, that's fine. I'll just get another one. It's like, yeah, that's fine for you, maybe you're not getting them. What happens when it's one of your subs that aren't getting them for free, like, type thing? And a lot of people just don't care. You need to kind of, when you're doing these investments when it comes to gaming, it is an investment. Like, it's a lot of money, and a lot of it is customizable. A lot of it you can make so it's something around you. Like, I've kept all of mine. As I say, I'm not gonna sit. You can't even see that. Like, there should be a light there that shows them. They're all different. They're not all black and boring. There's writing all over them, logos over them, pictures over them, different LED effects. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I don't know if you can see these thumbsticks, but these thumbsticks are changing color. Like, these are LED thumbsticks. They change. You get stuff like that. I don't know if you can see now that they're different colors. This is not an effect. It is actually doing it. I've got controllers that have got, like, a storm theme on them, and the storm's got, like, lightning and stuff, and the lightning all changes colors all over the controller and stuff. Like, you can get, like, proper personalized ones that are yours, and that's your thing. Like, gaming is your hobby, it's your passion, and this is your one thing that you've invested a little bit extra on. So it's kind of like a personal touch. So I think too many people that are in the streaming world will see these streamers like, sitting there like, yeah, he's got this one, we should get this one, like type thing. Not really thinking about the fact that a lot of they're getting it for free, and when something goes wrong, they're not really having to deal with any of the problems because they just get another one. I could sit there and I'm not going to say that it's not the same for me, and you can argue what you want, but I mean, I've been using the same controllers for ages. I've been using this controller here since Modern Warfare 2 released. It's the Modern Warfare theme. Yeah. Also, if you go with a PS5 one, from my experience with the PS5 controllers, is that I think I had to lower my sensitivity in game by 1 because they've got haptic triggers. The PS5 ones, they're a little bit more sensitive to they actually do more to your actual touch. They're a lot better in my opinion. But if you do get them, it might be worth lowering your sense by 1 or something to maybe to get used to it. But yeah, so that's been my experiences with Scuf, my experiences with paddle controllers and what I think about it. Have you got a paddle controller? I will, as I said, I've been going through a lot of the comments and replying to them. So make sure you drop a comment below of what your experiences have been, who your controller's from, if you use a normal one, what controllers you've had, what you've preferred the most. I'd be quite interested to see. Again, I can't sit there and shit on any of them. I'm not trying to use this as an advertisement for AIM. It's obviously easy for me to do it because I am partnered. But I'll leave their links below. If you like them, go for it. Use my code. You normally get a big discount. But check out other ones. Find which ones you like too. And just know that Simsy says AIM. And that's all you need to know. Okay? Make sure you drop a like. I'm also, before I forget, I'm going to post another video tomorrow. I think not... Well, it depends when you're seeing this, doesn't it? There'll be my next video, either way, will be advertising something that I'm going to do for an evening stream this week. And you all need to be there for it. It should be a banger. And I need your help with it. Like, I need your help with this stream. I need some ideas from you guys. And I need you to help me with it. There's more to come to that on the next video. So make sure you drop a sub for that. And I'll see you next time. Peace.